How's it going, everybody? Anime Steak here, back with another video. Today bringing you what if Naruto had Ichigos Zambakcto. So let's get into it really quickly, because this is actually just going to be one video. And it's for a very specific reason. Usually I like to go through the backstory before, just to usually give the rundown on how the character has the certain thing, right? And usually we go through all of OG Naruto, but with this what if, I'm actually going to kind of skip those two. Why? Well, I don't really see Naruto obtaining Ichigo's Zambakcto or his Zambakcto in either of those instances, so we're actually going to have him learn his Zambakcto way later. And later? Like, when later? Well, I am being kind of lazy on not having him learn it during the OG era, or when he was a kid, but I think it'd make a lot more sense for him to learn it during the 2-year time skip, because as we know, Naruto didn't learn really that much. He just learned how to make a bigger Rasengan, which I can kind of see on why it took that 2 years just to get to that far, because everybody's like, oh my god, Naruto barely learned anything, he just made his Rasengan bigger. But remember, it took his father 3 years just to get what he got, so Naruto learning how to make a bigger Rasengan kind of made sense, but it was kind of a waste of time as well, when he probably could have done the same thing if he just stayed at the village. So yeah, and honestly, Kakashi taught Naruto how to use the freaking nature energy, or whatever it was called, chakra. I forgot what it's called, but pretty much Kakashi was able to teach Naruto how to use the Rasengan in a different way in 1 week. So yeah, I can kind of see on him kind of wasting his time. But anyway, let's just get into it. So during the 2-year time skip, Naruto would have nightmares with Zambakcto continually appearing, and he'd bring this with Jiraiya, and Jiraiya would be pretty confused. He'd be like, wait, I only thought you had the 9 tails, why are you getting different, I don't want to say different nightmares, but why are you hearing another voice? And at some times Naruto would hear Zambakcto's voice, and during the training, at one point when Naruto gets angry or frustrated at himself, he would get in a Soul Reaper uniform and would have this giant blade on his back, and he'd be like, whoa, what's this? And even Jiraiya would be confused, but he's like, well, it's a chakra, but it feels like a weird different chakra, and it's not the 9 tails. So right then and there, Naruto would have had the Zambakcto, and then we would pretty much get into Shippuden, with Naruto just knowing a few of the basics. And many people would really compare it to the sword that Zabuza had, the Executioner's Blade, right? And let's go through the arcs on what would pretty much happen. So the first arc with the Gar arc, pretty much Naruto would kind of have that sword as kind of like a decoration, I'm not going to lie. He'd have it around. To be honest, to him it was super light, but to everybody else it would look super heavy. With that in mind, pretty much Naruto would kind of have the same effect as Zabuza, where it's this giant thing and it may seem heavy, but because he has it and he holds it around, he pretty much gets used to it and gets a bit stronger because of it. So like I said, in the Gaara arc, I'm just going to say nothing really changes, because honestly that arc was the Sakura and Lady Chiyo era, and pretty much the whole time they were just chasing Deidara. And when Naruto would get all angry, right? I think when it's going to be a weird situation where every single time Naruto goes into his Kyuubi state, if he's not meeting Kurama, he's meeting Zangetsu. And so whenever he would go into that 9-tail state, he'd be seen as kind of vulnerable, and then Zangetsu would come in and be like, yo kid, and then say some few things, and he'd be in that weird little dimension with all the skyscrapers and such. And Naruto 1 would be confused about the skyscrapers. He'd be like, bro, what's this? But yeah, that's what happened. That's what would happen for the main part. In the next part, the whole the attempt at the Sasuke retrieval arc, I kind of want to say everything would go the same, right? But when he was using control, he would probably meet Zangetsu again and have a bit of a talk with him. After that whole interaction where Yamato does the thing that pretty much seals Naruto's 9 tails, his sword would have it would have changed. It would have been a lot bigger, and it would have even closely resembled the Executioner blade a little bit more, and everybody would be like, whoa, your blade changed. And after that, you do that whole nature training thing. But at this point, this is where it'd be a little bit different. As we know, Kakashi, for whatever reason, like in the 4th grade ninja war, he like was really good with the Executioner's Blade and pretty much used the Executioner's Blade against the 7 ninja swordsmen, except for Zabuza. So for whatever reason, Kakashi would actually be teaching Naruto Zabuza's way of fighting. Because we know he's the copy ninja, you're actually able to copy movements too. So that's pretty much what would happen. Naruto would start to learn Zabuza's style of fighting, and he would pretty much kind of be like Zabuza of the Hidden Leaf at that point. Also, during this week of training, he would learn the Getsuka Tensho. And yeah, and I know some people will be like, yo, does he get the hollow forms and all that? And I'm just going to say no here, because that was kind of like an Ichigo specific thing because of his mother getting attacked before he was born and all that. So no, Naruto wouldn't ever get a hollow mask, so he wouldn't have like those kinds of nightmares. But he would pretty much get his Shikai, which is the big giant blade, learn Genshika Tensho. And yeah, and then you'd have the other fights, and he wouldn't... At this point, now he has the Rasengan, the Big Ball Rasengan, and the Multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu, and then his Shikai with Ichigo's Zambakcto. Then they would have that Kakuzu fight, and all would go according to plan. The fight would be a little bit dragged out a little bit more, but Naruto would probably be able to defeat him with the Genshika Tensho, because it kind of looked... Because the Genshika Tensho is pretty much like... I don't know how to say it. It was a giant beam of energy, and I think Naruto and Kakashi would still be able to beat Kakuzu. They'd have a bit more rougher of a fight, but they'd be able to do it. Now, the next major change here would probably be the Pain fight. After Jiraiya dies and he gets all sad and all whatnot, he'd probably go and meditate to talk to Zangetsu, right? And instead of doing the sage training like he originally did, Naruto would go, you know what, I think I want to unlock the final form of what Old Man said, which is his Old Man being his Zambakcto, because that's what Ichigo referred him as. Now, I know in the anime of Bleach, they pretty much had this like weird special method of Ichigo learning his Bankai, and that's why it was like so cool. He's like, whoa, Ichigo learned his Bankai in like 2 days, that's insane, and all that. But I think what would happen here is Naruto would tell them about Zangetsu, and that the sword is actually Zangetsu, and he would explain this to Tsunade and all that. And so he would just go like into the woods and he'd kind of have a training arc where he was meditating and talking to Zangetsu. Sakura would pretty much like peek here and there. And I think through the first half of the month, he would be like, alright, I get this. And then the second half, he would go away and actually master his Bankai. So when the Pain Invasion came, he would come a little bit earlier. Well, actually, maybe not. Naruto would come about around the same time. He wouldn't have the 2 giant toads, but he would come back with his Shikai. And Pain would be like, whoa, what's that giant sword? And at this point, Naruto is pretty much... He has like the skill prowess of Zabuza, if not a little bit better. And he'd be a bit faster due to his Bankai training, right? So with that, Naruto would use the Multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu, not worrying about his Sage mode, and would pretty much just like slice some of the other Pains, deal with the animal path really quickly. And Pain would be like, whoa, he's actually pretty fast. And when Pain starts to make him sweat a little, Naruto would be like, alright, well, it's time to do this. And then he'd have an epic Bankai awakening, and everybody like, whoa, what's that? And Ichigo's theme would play, but this would be Naruto, and it would have that ladies sing and all that. It would be a pretty cool scene. But anyway, with that, Naruto's speed, because that's what his Bankai, Ichigo's Bankai does. Frick, I cannot speak. It increases his speed. So Naruto would be super fast. Probably, I want to say he'd probably be 4 Tails speeds of fast. And Pain was like barely able to keep up with, I think it was the Five Tails. So with Naruto in control with a sword, he'd be really fast. I think maybe he'd be, honestly, I might as go as far to say as Naruto would probably be as fast as he was when he was in that tailed beast form during the Pain fight. He'd just be really fast, being able to slice up Pain and all that. And Hinata wouldn't have to come and save him and all that, so he wouldn't get super angry. And I think Naruto would eventually win the fight, use Takano Jutsu as well. And yeah. So a lot of you guys may be going, okay, so he doesn't learn Sage Mode? Yeah, so pretty much the only difference here is that he doesn't have Sage Mode, he doesn't have Rasen Shuriken, but he has pretty much everything that Ichigo's Zambakcto granted him. He doesn't have the Hollow Mask, he doesn't have the Quincy powers that I know he gets later in the manga, and he doesn't get all that. Except Naruto does not have Final Genshin. Frick, what is it called? He doesn't have Final Gensuga Tensho. Fuck, I was able to say it earlier. Why aren't I be able to say it now? Anyways, yeah, and he doesn't have that insane, like, not Final Gensuga Tensho, but he doesn't have that form right before that Ichigo got with the long hair and all that. So pretty much, Naruto is pretty much scaling up to Ichigo was before the whole invasion arc. Yeah, he has pretty much everything that Ichigo had before the whole invasion arc. So, let's get into the next part, the Great Ninja War. And because he doesn't have Sage Mode, this would actually prove like very like, I don't know, I don't want to say useful, but it would actually be a very big change, because without the Sage Mode, he wouldn't be able to see everything that's going on. He'd be like, oh, okay, Aruka, I guess I'll stay back. And I think somebody would finally break the news to him, but in the Great Ninja War, it'd be a losing battle, honestly. And I think Sasuke and all that would have to get into the war a lot earlier with the 5 Kage. Naruto would learn that golden form, the Kurama chakra mode, and he would learn that he's able to mix it with his Soul Reaper powers, his Bankai. So pretty much Naruto would look like he had the Sage of the Six Paths mode before he even had it. And yeah, that would look really cool. So when Naruto finally did get to the field, he would be like super insanely fast. Even, I think, and I'm not gonna lie, when they fight Jubito, he would still be a pretty like formidable opponent. And when he gets Sage of the Six Paths mode, oh my god, dude! I think honestly, because of his Soul Reaper powers, he would pretty much be like way above Sasuke. Probably, maybe like Jubi Madara level, at least. By himself, he'd be that power level. And against Kaguya, I don't want to say it'd be an easy fight, because Kaguya has could put him in that weighted dimension and all that, but it'd be a lot easier to seal her up. And honestly, I think Sasuke would still try to go up against him, but Naruto would just straight up flatten him. Even with the Susanoo and all that, when Naruto goes into the big Kurama mode, and the thing would be that it'd be the big Kurama mode, but he'd still be so super fast, and Kurama would just have this giant sword after he befriends Kurama. And yeah, so I think after that, Naruto would just beat him down and be like, dude, you gotta stop this, you need to come back to the village, and he'd do the final Takano Jutsu, and Sasuke would finally give up and be like, alright, Naruto. And yeah, and then everything would continue as is. I don't think, and if we want to get into Boruto, everything stays the same. Naruto would end up loving Hinata. Naruto would actually keep most of his Sage of Six Paths orbs, and he would get the weird chain on the sword that Ichigo got right before fighting Aizen. He'd get all that when he's an adult. So that concludes What If Naruto Had Ichigo's Zambakcto. Yes, it was a bit rushed, and I'm sorry if there was a bit of some dead air, but I'm going to be... I keep on saying this, I'm going to be trying to hash out content, but I got a couple coming out for you guys. I'm also going to finish What If Yusuke was in Naruto. I'm going to start up What If Aang was in Naruto, and yeah, have a good day.